Okay, coming in at number 3, and in my book, these are my rankings. I think this is a little bit of an upset that they're number 3 and not number 2, but we can debate. And that's the Boston Globe I have coming in at number 3. Yeah. So let's open it up. So that means that they're not number 2. So the two left are Ness and WEEI. So,
but we'll stay tuned to see.
We'll stay tuned, but I think without giving anything away, I think the debate probably comes down to, is New England's biggest and best known newspaper but one that's in a bit of a financial pinch, do they have enough to get past whatever they're going through right now and to continue? Because they've been the number one force on the sports scene up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago when EEI kind of I think passed them. Mm-hmm. So do they have what it takes to get to the top again?
I think it all comes down to money for them, because they've shown more than you could even argue any other newspaper in the country. I mean, Boston.com is the gold standard of newspaper websites. It's had a large staff for a long time. It's multimedia, it's writing, it's photos, it's the portal for
great.
The web in New England. And the question is whether they can take what that is, continue to augment it with what the newspaper can provide them, the reporting and the analysis and the digging that newspapers do that other sources can't afford to do, and turn it all into something where they can start to make money and live within a budget and not blow $85 million a year, as is the number was kicked around earlier in the year.
Is that really a lot of money, though, $85 million these days?
There's no one in this room who lost $85 million this year.
That is presumptuous.
Because if that was true, we wouldn't have this room or these microphones, and you definitely wouldn't have that hat.
Microphones cost $85 million.
It's interesting. I mean, I think that when you look at what Boston Globe does across the board, I think the term you would use, if the Herald has some rough edges, the Globe does not. They're polished. Even the kind of the tones of their guys, like, he's not there anymore, but Gordon Eads, when he was doing baseball, was always kind of very mellifluous.
It's a writer's newspaper.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, they do great reporting. My MVP for the Globe, the Globe's MVP has to be Bob Ryan. It's like you want to say some other guys because it's like it's a little more exciting. Like, you don't want to give the MVP to Albert Pujols every year because it's just it's boring. But let's face it, I mean, Bob Ryan, he's as big as it's. I mean, McDonough for what he did was considered great, but I mean, he was not the writer that Bob Ryan was.
Yeah, but I think McDonough was more connected though than
he was incredible. He was great.
I think now though we get into a question of what's more valuable. Is it the reporting, the actual facts, or is it the sort of opining from on high? And I don't want to knock Bob Ryan because I think Bob Ryan is great.
But the opining from on high is what has always been the front of any news. Even when newspapers are known for reporting, their stars are the guys that opine.
Yes, but I don't think that pays the bills anymore. I think we're getting into a media environment now that's so augmented that if I want to see, somebody writing on a certain topic, I'm not going to go to a general sports columnist who, writes a little bit about everything. I'm going to go to an expert on a certain topic, and I think Bob Ryan has had that.
But
there may be some people who view it differently.
Okay, you say that, but who is the most popular? If you're talking about, well, this is how people react online, who's the most popular online sports columnist by 1,000,000%? It's Bill Simmons, and he's not specifically.
He's speaking to you with a certain voice.
Anyway,
but getting back to Bob.
But
Ryan,
it's Bob
too.
Ryan. I mean, the Globe. When you think of the Globe, you're thinking of. To me, you're thinking of three things. You're thinking of, great quality. You're thinking of Bob Ryan, and you're thinking of Shaughnessy.
But I mean, getting back to the idea of Bob Ryan, though, I kind of disagree with what Cooch is saying about how nobody wants that opining from high anymore. But that's why I would read the Globe. That's why I would want to read Bob Ryan.
You wouldn't want to read, facts. You need opinions given to you. Where do you get the facts?
Yeah, but Bob Rayne,
I get the facts from my own eyes. From when it comes. I'm
all right, but we're not talking about media people.
I'm saying event coverage. Per se.
When you read Bob Ryan, you're getting any good columnist isn't just throwing it out there without backing.
No, I understand that, but
I'll say it this way. Let me put it to you this way: whether I'm covering a game professionally or watching a game as a fan, I saw the same game that Bob Ryan saw.
Right.
But Bob Ryan never sees it the same way that I did. And that's why I want to read what he says, because in some regard, he is a better observer of things than I am.
Yeah, see, I think that the guys like Bob Ryan are the guys that's the ultimate gold. The guys like, the reporters are kind of a dime a dozen. Guys that
I could not disagree with that more.
Oh, okay, well, go ahead and say why that is there, Slappy.
Because Bob Ryan only works if he has the facts to back it up. Shaughnessy.
But of course he has the facts to back.
He's a beat reporter on the street now who can give me all the specifics of stuff that's happened in the clubhouse.
But no. A guy who's writing a column, he's got the facts are assumed in the background.
A big city columnist is reliant on his beat writers, just like we're reliant on the beat writers to get us the facts, to allow us to report and to opine on what we see and to form opinions.
Right, but reporters are a dime a dozen. Guys like Bob Ryan
bad reporters are a dime a dozen.
I don't think that's true.
Good reporters are worth gold.
Well, maybe I think that actually is a really good. That kind of brings me to the kind of end debate on the Globe, and that is
the rest of the staff.
Well, yeah, is the reporting worth gold? Because everyone wants that information, but nobody seems to want to pay for that information in a larger sense. So, can the Globe figure out how to take what they have and really maximize the money that they make so they can, stay through this process where we're going from wherever things are going with newspapers? Can they live through it and come out on top on the other side? Because they could not. But
for one thing, they kind of cleaned house a little bit with a lot of the higher end talent that was costing them a lot of money.
And there's more cleaning to come, I have no doubt.
And now that they've kind of filled I'm not trying to knock anybody who works for the Globe, but they've gotten people who are, let's say, cheaper. It's definitely cheaper for them to put out a sports section now than it was 5 years ago.
But that's something that businesses are doing. All businesses are doing, not just the Globe.
But what they're able to do is they're able to find, maybe it's because they are the Boston Globe, but they're able to find very good talent in that slot. And the people that they've been able to bring in seem to be doing. We all know Mike Reese, and we all know what he puts into that job.
He was the gold standard of Patriots reporters at this point.
And I would almost say that what he does for the Patriots is what you would want your beat guy to do for any sport.
Sure. Absolutely.
And what he does that's the future of what sports writers need to do.
Well, that's
been my point all along.
The model is debate. The great reporter. You think that the great reporters are replacing the great columnists as the most important.
I think that if you're a great reporter, you can be a great reporter and get that information. I don't think people want opinions as much anymore because it's so easy to go out there
and many of
watch the game. The old joke about opinions and bleep holes, as I could probably swear, it's the internet.
No swearing.
No swearing.
It's a family podcast.
People don't need opinions as much as they need facts now. Maybe I'm misreading it, but I think
but I'm looking out there in the wild world. I'm seeing a lot of opinions.
I love a good writer as much as anybody, and I love Bob Ryan as much as anybody. But I think if the Boston Globe wants to go into the future, with Mike Reese on the Pats, Fluto Shinzawa on the Bruins, Emily Benjamin and Adam Kilgore, who are both improving on the Red Sox, are not to the level of Herald yet, but they're certainly getting there. Going forward with that, I think, is a more successful model than going forward with Ryan and Shaughnessy. There's room for all of that, but I think if the reporting's not A1, you got no chance.
And what makes Reese so good is the fact that you're hearing this stuff from him before it's even hit anything else.
Right.
And that's what a sports writer needs to be now. You need to be kind of 24 hours into this job to be able to not just break stories, but to just break little tiny tidbits that nobody else is going to have. For him to be able to put up, say, game day inactives before the paper is passed around to the rest of the media, to have that kind of information from that source, that's where they need to start sinking more attention and more money into, which means we're going to have to work a whole lot more, Coach.
Stinks.
Well, so the Globe, they're still coming in at number 3 on my list, but perhaps there's debate about that.
I would disagree, but let's move on to number 2 and find out,
who that is.
Who that is.